Welcome to the Chronically Will podcast, where we have real conversations with community that need to be heard. On this episode, you will hear from my friend Jennifer. Jennifer was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 9 years young. In this episode, she invites us into her life while living and being unapologetically a person living with type 1 diabetes. Her tribe, mom, and dad have and continue to be the leaders in her development as a child with diabetes and now even an adult conquering life. During this conversation, she speaks warmly about how during her own diagnosis and for the first time seeing her superhero of a father shed a tear. Today I see it more so of them shedding a tear to build an armor of love and protection for their child. Jennifer is one with nature and enjoys roaming the earth and enjoying life's adventures with those that love her most. Jenni is committed to helping others, and one of her main goals is to be a healthcare provider because she wants those seeking health services to be seen as individuals and not just another statistic. Management in diabetes, as she says, it should be a whole approach and a conversation. Get to know my sister Jennifer. She's definitely someone in the community that needs to be heard.
First of all, thank you. Good morning. I'm really excited to be here, actually, even though, it is through a screen. Excited to finally see your face also, besides like social media. So again, my name is Jennifer. I'm 29 years old. I live in the New Jersey area. Growing up with type 1 as a juvenile, right? I can say that it has definitely shaped my life in a way that I can't envision myself without diabetes, to be honest. It's a part of who I am. I don't like to identify oh, I'm a type 1 diabetic, but if it comes in conversation and people see my gadgets, I'm not gonna deny it. But it's something that I really like to educate people on. Oh my God. And did it go away?
I got you.
Sorry.
That's fine.
My coworker's calling me.
That's fine. Tell me you're in an important meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to text them really quick.
That's cool.
Sorry about that. Real life things, right?
Life happens. Yeah. Back in October when I reached out to you about doing the diabetes campaign, Diabetes Looks Like Who 2003 Representation Matters. You were the only person that stated my gadgets are going off or whatnot, but I don't care. It's a part of who I am. And yeah. I made sure that I left that in there because it was real, authentic. You didn't script any of what you broadcast to the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, hearing those alerts go off, I was like, yeah, she's on point.
Yeah. That's also something I really like. Life happens, right? So I think you just gotta take it one step at a time. I'm not gonna stress out. I'm just let her know that I'm busy right now. I'll get to her later. But yeah, definitely. I recently had an interview too for school, and my gadgets were going off, and I apologized, but they were very understanding. And it's just something that you don't plan for. You hope it doesn't happen, but it's okay if it does.
Right. It's a part of you. Literally, these gadgets, these devices help keep us alive. So if these devices and gadgets weren't here, then I probably wouldn't be in this space. You wouldn't be in that interview space. They wouldn't be looking at you as a person who was on an even field that they want to bring in to help their business or their school grow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
The funny thing is that when I went to that interview, I actually met another type 1 diabetic. So that was really great.
Meeting us out in the wild.
It's great. I love it. Whenever I go to a supermarket or anything, I love seeing people with their gadgets. I approach some people, not everybody, because, some people are more shy toward
Mhm.
that. And I like to um, give people their space and their privacy. I don't like to invade people's space, but, you know, it's still nice to see us out
Mhm.
there.
And I mean, it's just nice to be seen, like you said, and to be welcomed, like, because we know for the most part, when people are diagnosed with chronic health conditions, such as one that is still stigmatized, such as diabetes, that people hide from it. They don't
Yeah.
broadcast it, which in this realm, in this on this journey with this podcast, I want everyone to see us in our most natural state, our most natural form, and we can be unapologetically us. Because we know when we've gone to places like meetups and whatnot, we were able to like be ourselves. When we're in a group of other type ones, we just have normal conversations. We don't even think twice about checking our blood sugars, switching out our sites, things of that nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you know, it's nice when somebody understands, or like I've had a lot of friends that I've reconnected with that I went to high school with. So they knew already off the bat that I was a type 1 diabetic. And it's nice to like reconnect with them, but sometimes I feel a little rude because I'm like looking at my numbers. Like I'm like looking at my phone. They're probably like, she's not interested in what I'm saying, but I like take a quick glance, just to see like where I'm
Mhm.
at. Um, so it's definitely nice when somebody else understands. So mostly everybody that I um, tend to surround myself with, they know what's going on, you know.
Yeah, and I think with like how often we change the devices that we actually use, like even to our family members, our parents, siblings, people like that, they may be like, "What are you doing now?" Like when we pull out the phone and we're checking, they're like, "Oh, guess they got a new gadget." And I mean, I like the gadgets. I mean, most of the apps on my phone are probably diabetes related or health related or things of that
Yeah.
nature. And I mean, that just helps us along in our journey, making it a lot easier than it would have been previously without any of these devices and whatnot.
Yep. And I also see it in a way that like um, our numbers and all these apps are giving us like throwing a lot of information at us. So it definitely helps us like improve
Mhm.
our numbers, or maybe we're like, oh, we won't do that, or like adjust. But also like sometimes it can produce a lot of anxiety as well,
Oh,
you know?
it definitely produces a lot of anxiety
Yeah.
because I've spoken to people who were diagnosed 40, 50 years ago, and they talk about how through their childhood and even adolescent years going into young adulthood before the technology and like the advancements in it, that they didn't think twice about their diabetes. Like they went to
Mhm.
sleep, they woke up, did their job, like played sports, went out, got drunk with friends, went to parties, lived the whole college life, like as a person living with insulin dependence. But they said like it was nothing. And I've spoken to parents as well that say that um, they put their kids to sleep at night back in the 80s and they didn't think twice about it.
Mhm.
Right. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest advancement in the technology and the devices is that we don't often see the complications that we were taught when we were diagnosed. Like you have to do this in case that happens. What I call it the fear factor that is placed on all of us. But yeah, we
Oh
weren't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like the trajectory of it all, right? So like people like us, that we've had this for such a long time. Um, we kind of see like I started out with like syringes, and then, then I went to the pens, and then I went to that like first CGM from Medtronic.
Mhm.
I absolutely hated it. It had like a needle
Was
inside
that
of it.
you said the first CGM from Medtronic?
Yeah, I don't know if it was the first one, but it was my first one at
Okay.
that time. I think it was like the N light, I think it was. Hated that.
Oh, I know you were a Medtronic girl for forever.
Yeah,
Look,
yo, I'm
look.
so happy. This is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Okay. Not advertising here, no
Right,
ads,
right.
just like
I mean, but if
this helps me
sponsors
so
do
much.
want to join in, yes, you said that tandem, that T Slim is a control IQ.
Right,
Look,
107.
look, right where you want to be. Look,
Yeah, it's great.
that's great.
Yeah, it's helped my management so much.
Hmm. I mean, like I said, technology lessens the burden that we have because we don't. I mean, even though there's anxiety driven from always wanting to, I know most diabetics shoot for wanting to be better, which is, I mean,
Hmm.
in your own terms, better, not what I feel as though it's better, but your own terms,
Right.
because we all want to be at our best physically and mentally. And we know that when we are set at a certain target, a certain range, and we're staying within that our anxiety isn't risen so much, that we're not boiling over as far as like anger or even like depression, different mental health aspects of our lives. So yeah, the technology is a plus to me. And,
Yeah.
until the next thing, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I think the technology is amazing. Um, Again, I use it more like educational purposes. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or like I'll fix this, or maybe I'll work out at this certain time because I see my sugars like at this range. Um, but I can also see the other perspective of it where it can be a little, anxiety inducing. But
For
I think that
and
that's okay. I think that's, part of life. Everything has its pros, everything has its cons.
right for anyone that's new to technology, that first, I'm going to say first couple of years, may be anxiety driven
Oh, yeah.
because not only do you have this device in front of you and the numbers in front of you, but now you know what your blood sugar is, how active it is throughout the entirety of your day, how it changes, how the hormone and fluctuations alter who you are as a person. And you may just want to be like, I want to be at my best. So I got to figure out how to base the timing on the hormonal changes and stress factors, school, if you have a family, all of those things, even like driving, waking up in the morning, taking a shower, in general, just breathing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like a lot of what you pinpointed, like for me, taking a shower lowers my blood sugar. So I have to like look at my sugar and see like, maybe I'll take a shower this time. Maybe I won't right now. Maybe I'll have a little snack and then I'll wait a little bit. It's really a lot of things that you have to take into consideration, but the technology definitely helps with that.
I have posted something not too long ago about I was asking people basically like when they are how do they feel about like taking snacks to the shower and to the
Oh,
bathroom?
yeah.
And like there was an overwhelming response because, for the most part, like the general population, general public, they're like, you're taking food and drinks to the bathroom? Disgusting.
Gross. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, someone who doesn't know about us and their diabetes and they see us injecting insulin at the table in their head, they're like, take it to the bathroom.
Yes.
So you don't want me to treat or my well being in the bathroom like taking a snack or drink with me, but you want me to take the needed medications that I need to actually live to this filthy place.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
it's a huge
completely agree.
it's a huge oxymoron,
Yeah.
Or
Even like even sorry, I interrupted you, but
good.
even like my parents sometimes they would like when I was like injecting, they'd be like, "Oh, why don't you go to the bathroom?" And I'd be like, "Why? Why should I?" Like I'm like, "Yo, I'm right here. I'll do it like in 2 seconds. It's fine." Um, they haven't told me that a lot. That was just like once or twice. But yeah, I've had like a lot of stares and stuff. And growing up too, like okay, let's say your mom is like, "Oh, are you high?"
Mhm.
You know? like that doesn't sound right. Like I was 9 years old when I was diagnosed. So, hey, are you high? And I'm like, yeah, I'm so high right now.
Yep.
You know, the
Look, I'm modern day Kanye high.
yeah, like you're just there like, oh, what? This child is high. What? You know?
So, you said you're from the New Jersey area. New Jersey, I mean, I'm bordering New Jersey, where I'm from. So I'm from the Philadelphia region, northern Delaware. So it's literally 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia. You you've probably never been to Delaware unless you just driven through here, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm always in the New Jersey area, especially like along the shores. I've been to the cities like Newark, East Orange, all of those places. Very familiar
Oh,
with the
okay.
very familiar with the New York area. I spent a lot of like my young adulthood in that area. But
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm
being
like right in the middle where you said East Orange, Newark area.
okay. So are you from the actual city or like the county, suburbs?
Yeah, the county, like Union County.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
growing up in Jersey or growing up here and in Jersey, I see a like there's a lot of like areas where you can like I call it like areas of recluse where you can just like be one with the nature and things of that nature. And I do see it via social media, even though you say you're not always out doing this and doing that, but just seeing your journeys out there in the free world, the free space, being one with the earth, um, it actually, like, from my point of view, like, it does give me a push and a drive to, more so like embody that more because we're living with a chronic health condition. We know that nature is a natural remedy when it comes to have like stress relievers and things of that nature. So yeah, continue doing that. Continue going on all your adventurous hikes that you do so often. Uh yeah.
I luckily I have an amazing partner that we have a lot of like interests in common. And before I liked hiking, but now like every week, clockwork,
I knew you did it
sometimes
all the
twice a
time.
week. Yeah, I did it all the time before, but now it's like clockwork, like twice a week. We're like out hiking. Lots of adventures. I love adventures. I also like the holistic part. Um, Oh, I should have said this in my introduction. I'm also vegan. I've been vegan for about like 3 years. Um, Helped my management a lot, I think. Personally, I can't say like it's gonna help everybody,
Mhm.
but like, definitely, if you want to incorporate more fruits and diets, and I know that fruit and vegetables, sorry, in our diet. And I know that's something that's really taboo. I feel like a lot of endos tell us like, oh, don't eat this fruit or eat like this amount because then it'll make your sugar high. But like, I love pineapples, I'm from the Caribbean, like, come on. So
Right.
pineapples, coconut, all that good stuff. Love
Mhm.
it. Obviously in moderation. I pre-bolus for it, I weigh it out. I try to like do the things that I can do so then I can indulge in what I really want to eat.
Right. Culture and foods are something that we don't hear too often in this space. Especially when you talk about like fruits and vegetables, you may hear about like different things such as like say if a certain culture eats a certain like steam pot or certain stew and
Hmm.
things of that like that. But I mean, being like your background, as you said, Caribbean, like fruits are the thing. Like it's like you're going on a hike, grab a fruit. Like
Uh-huh.
yeah, like so
In my
it's
purse, I'm constantly with bananas, oranges, stuff like that. I just love to munch on fruit.
right. As long as people know like the difference in the glycemic index and how they affect you, then I mean, there's no issues with them. As you would tell someone to bolus for a big portion, as an educator, you should be able to easily help someone learn to bolus or correct even for that spike with the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like when, like, okay, obviously from my post you've seen, I love pineapple. I can eat like an entire pineapple in one day. I love pineapple. Um, what I noticed for me, of course, this is individual experiences for everybody, so I can't like, say, oh, it won't spike you because it might. But for me, like it'll start going up a little bit and then it like steadies out and then it like, stays pretty steady. Like for me, in
Mhm.
my experience. Um, so yeah, I try to incorporate as much fruit, uh, veggies, tea. I love tea, you know, um, little things that make me happy and make my management better, at least for me and
Right.
individually.
We know no two type ones or two people living with diabetes in general are the same. So what works best for you works best for you. So there's no
Right.
need in anyone telling you you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that because they don't truly live in the body that you live in. They don't have the mindset that you have. So just
Hmm.
that alone, even if you don't have a chronic health condition, um, just being spoken to as an individual as opposed to grouping you in with others that are doing similar things. It's like it. I'm always in awe of like looking at how educators tell people these things, and when you walk into office, you see the signs, and they're basically stating that all people living with diabetes will go through this. They shouldn't do this. Their A1C should be here. But no, I'm a
Hmm.
person. If you know the activity that I do on a regular, then you would say that, oh, that's why your A1C is there, or the type of job you do.
Hmm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like I do see that. I think that's really why I want to be a provider. That's one of my goals. Because I want to see people as an individual. I don't want to, they're not just another statistic. I'm here to like educate you if I can, or maybe you can educate me too, Who knows? But I think it should be a conversation. It shouldn't be something that like you do this, that, and that's it. No, it should be something like I want to know what goes on in your day. And then I want to like maybe devise a plan that might help you and, you know, progress. I remember when I went to my pediatric endo until like a couple years ago because of the pandemic. So I couldn't find any endocrinologists that were, taking new patients. And I told her I went vegan and she was like, why? And I was like, why not? I feel great.
it's
And I
what you
had like
wanted to
lost.
do.
Right. I was like, I lost a lot of weight. You see that in the scale. Like, if you look at like your chart, at my chart, you'll see like I had lost a lot of weight. I felt so much better. And she constantly kept telling me after that, like how much better I looked, how like energized I looked, So it wasn't only just because I decided to do this out of a whim. Um, I followed at Mastering Diabetes.
Mhm.
I liked a lot of his posts. And then I saw like how great his sugar was. And I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And that really inspired me. And I don't know. I don't think I would look back. Like I personally, like, I don't think I can do meat or like chicken anymore. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a mental block that I have there. I mean, if I obviously have to, then yes, but typically no.
I'm very similar. When I stop doing something, it's extremely hard for me to restart doing it. Like I remember when I stopped eating like beef and pork and stuff like many years ago, like 10 plus years ago, and I never ever
Wow.
looked back at it. Like,
Yeah.
right, I may see other people eating it. I'm like, and I remember like the taste, but it's not something that I crave for at all.
Yeah. Or the smells like I can't lie. Smelling like
Hmm.
meat is amazing or something. They're cooking it. But I look at that and I'm like, yep, not for me.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I tell people I think it's more of like the seasonings and how it's like the aroma from that, and you can like almost taste the flavors coming from that.
Right.
Like I'm full now just from smelling it. And,
Yeah.
I did want to backtrack on something you mentioned about the doctors and the endocrinologists and how they see you when you tell them that you're going vegan and whatnot. Something I did write jot down was and I've spoken to this with many people, is that when people are diagnosed or they're living with a chronic health condition, the doctors that we see, the physicians, are all based on like the physicality. So
Hmm.
anyone I believe, and I'm pushing hard and strong for this, is that when people are diagnosed with a chronic health condition or living with a chronic health condition or even managing a child with a chronic health condition, what should be given to them also are therapeutic measures. Um,
Yeah.
because our mental and our physical well-being are one in one. You can't be well physically without being well mentally. You can't be well mentally without being well physically. So we need to, as a whole, start treating these things equally, because you will see the betterment of a person just by knowing that, oh, she's so happy all the time. You see someone that's always happy and you look at them or you know them physically, you're like, they have it all together.
Hmm. No, I do completely like concur with what you're saying. I think that there's a very big stigma just in general, even if you're not chronically ill, with mental health. Um, and I do want to like highlight that culturally, like, some people will be like, you're not depressed, like go do something, like just go be on your feet, go do something. And yeah, that might help, but we're not really addressing um,
Mm-hmm.
people's concerns. And I think that that's super important. I completely agree. I know that there's been many times where um, I felt like depressed. I don't know if I have depression, but I know that there's times that I have, gone through that. And I didn't even care about my management. I just was like, whatever. I don't want to do this today. I don't want to think about this. And I think that, I mean, that's pretty normal. We're all exhausted, right? We make so many decisions throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
but
And as you were
I
just
think,
saying that, I circled normal, and then you just said that because it's like it's right here, like just being normal. I mean, what is normal to anyone? I mean,
exactly.
it's your own definition. So like culturally, I was speaking to a woman yesterday and she was talking about culturally how it was hard for her family to even accept that she had type 1 diabetes. She was
Right.
diagnosed at, I'm going to say at 13 years old. And like, her family was telling her like different things she could do, different remedies. And
Mhm.
culturally, that is something that hits us because, I don't know why. There's been so many stigmas placed upon the Black and Brown communities as far as health and well-being goes. But when we look at that in hindsight, in general, it's based off of media's perception, not based off of what we feel about or towards one another. As far as like, oh, you're Black, you're brown, you don't have access to this or that. No, that's not the
Mhm.
case. The case is that media tells us that you're this and you're that. The media's influence and impact is real worldwide. So even when we consider things such as ads and placements, we don't see us. So when you hear of someone Black or brown having diabetes, you're like, oh, they don't have that diabetes that person that
Yes.
other person has.
Yep. Um, so I work as a medical assistant, and they see I wear scrubs, so my scrubs are usually right here. They see my gadgets and stuff, and they'll be like, "You're diabetic, but you're not even fat," or like they'll be like, "Oh, but you're not like all the stigmas that they
Hmm.
place on us. Like, oh, you're not fat. Oh, but you're young. I get that a lot. Oh, but you could try this thing. You could try this tea. Or like, oh, and when I tell them I have type 1, they're like, oh, yours is the bad one. And it depends on how much, confidence I have with that patient. With that patient, I'm like, okay, well, tell me which diabetes is good, and I might
Right.
subscribe to that one. Like no diabetes is good. But I have it and I treat it and I like manage it the best way that I can. And I think that that's what's important, that I try, constantly, like all day, every day. But yeah, I get many of those comments.
Right. There's no better or worse when we consider diabetes or any chronic health
Hmm.
condition. I mean, I don't want to trade my diabetes for someone's RA or plaque
Right.
psoriasis. Like
Yeah.
none of those things. I do not want them. I mean, I know diabetes. I know how to manage this right here. Um,
Right.
and and I mean, I know there was a point in time in my life where I even hid my diabetes, I would say, because I I just didn't want people coming to me asking me questions about it. And that even started like at home with family, where I'm like, this is mine until something happened or occurred. Maybe I had a hypoglycemic episode, or my blood sugar was severely high, or I couldn't access um the prescriptions that I needed. Like for a while, it just belonged to me. And I held on tight to that for so long. Through your journey, have you held on to yours like tightly at all?
Um, I would say yes and no. I feel like in college, I didn't have like let's start since I was young. When I was younger, no, because my parents would constantly like engrave in my mind, like be like, oh, you have to tell someone that you're diabetic in case something happens. You could tell an adult, they might know what to do, educate them on it. They constantly had that only because they were worried for me, obviously. So I feel like they really ingrained that in me. Then when I became more of an adult, when I went to college, I see that, you know, my management was mine. I don't think, I think I was on a pump, but I was definitely not on a CGM. And when you're in college, it's like completely different. Like, there was like, I don't know, on my campus, there was like Starbucks everywhere.
Right.
There was like food everywhere. There was vending machines. So sometimes I found myself frustrated, like, oh, there's nothing healthy to eat. I'm going to have to eat this. I'm going to have to eat that, even like with vending machines. Then I think I like structured myself better. I would bring snacks and stuff like that. Um, I did tell my professors just in case, or like sometimes I couldn't make enough a test or something because like my sugar was crazy because again we talked about like stress, and stress for me, like
Hmm.
my sugar would be like
Hmm.
400. So you can't like think well when your sugar is so high. And
Right. That's an
I think
altered,
that is
consider an altered mind. Hmm.
exactly, yeah. So I would tell people, and I would find that even some of my classmates or my peers would, kind of like look at me and think that it was an excuse at some point. And I was just like, you don't know how I feel. You don't know what's going on. Uh,
Right. More
but
so, they know the outs of diabetes. They don't know the ends of diabetes.
exactly, they don't know what it's like to go through this day after day. Yeah, it's a lot, but
Hmm.
it's okay.
All right. So you're talking about how people look at you as though like it may be an excuse. Like I call that like they think you may be throwing up the diabetes card.
Hmm.
Um, can you talk more about that? Like because I know that we don't typically throw it up just because. It's always a reason.
Right,
Like it's a need.
right. Yeah, so I felt like a lot of even some of my friends, quote unquote friends, would just be like, oh, she's just using it as an excuse. Like I had multiple exams in one day, so sometimes I would take like, I'll give you like an example. Once I took 4 exams and I took all of them. And I oh man, my sugar was crazy. But I felt like at that moment I could do it. Like I felt focused and fine. But
Focus.
there are other times where I don't feel that way and I feel like, well, I studied for this and I can't give it my all or my best. So I'm not gonna throw up. Well, I'm gonna throw up my diabetes card because this is something that I need right now. I don't capable of doing this. And that's okay because, obviously we have many, what are those called? Like bills. Like, and I know that in
Mhm.
schools we have certain rights.
Yeah, I was going to ask
So
you coming up, like, do you know if you had a 504 plan or a IEP plan while you were in school, like as a child, even into high school, and were you able to set one up when you went to college?
in college, I don't know. I did like, I remember like in the health department of it, I had to like, well, I specifically put that I was a type 1 diabetic and stuff. I didn't use everything that they said because I think like I could even park in the handicap and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I didn't find that necessary for
Right.
myself. So I didn't exercise that. Um, Growing up, yes, I definitely think I had one. Um, I went to a pediatric endo. I think I had one and like it specifically said like laid out everything like that I
Mhm.
had to do. Like, oh, if my sugar's low, I had to wait the 15 minutes. I had to drink orange juice, then I followed it by some protein, that all the things. Um, and in high school as well. And in high school, I had to use it a couple of times. Yeah, I remember taking a state test, and we had a little break, little intermission, like 5 minutes, and I wasn't feeling well, and I was trying to get the teacher's attention, and I ended up just dozing off, and my sugar was like really low. So somebody had to actually like carry me down the stairs. I couldn't like really see or anything. Um, but I had to exercise that, at that point. And then I ate, I had lunch early, and then I think I took the exam later.
Right.
So
I know.
there have been times.
I know typically as we manage our health, our chronic health condition, that we learn it so much and it's become like second nature to us. Like it's like waking up, sleeping, dreaming, diabetesing. And like typically we push through everything. So even though we have a lot of the resources and plans that are available, if you know they're available, because for the a lot of people don't even know
Right,
like when you say like you have a disability, a lot of people are like, no, I don't. No, I don't have a disability. We're not saying you're disabled. Like you don't
right,
like you're not able to do things. But when we speak of disability, we're talking about just so you can be on an even or equitable playing field with others.
right.
So
Mm-hmm.
like I know
Yeah.
like with SATs, like I know people with type 1 diabetes that were able to have like more breaks in between because
Mm-hmm.
they may have been so focused on one task that it was hard for them to get to the next one. And then for the most part, they're like, you can't bring in these devices or whatnot. So they take breaks to check on their blood sugar. Even today, like they don't allow like Apple Watches and
Yeah. And I took a GRE test and I had to do it online because it was
Mhm.
during COVID. And I applied for the accommodations, is what they called it there. I didn't really use any, but it was nice to know that if I needed it, I had it. And then, like, they made me like go around the room, see that nobody else was there. I was in a place that was quiet. I didn't have anything on me. I had to show my ID. There's a lot of different things that you have to do now for testing, but it's always nice to know that if you by chance need it, you have it and you're covered in that sense.
True. And early on, you spoke about how your parents like instilled that in you growing up. Like, tell people you have diabetes, tell people you need this or that. And I see that you've taken that along with you into your young adulthood. Um, can you tell me more, like, have your parents always been that, like, don't hide anything type of people, whether that's, I mean, we know growing up as teens, we did hide some things. Even as young
Right.
adults, we did hide some things, but, you know, stuff like consciously where you're like, oh, my parents probably already know. So, like,
Yeah.
mhm,
Um, yeah, I think so. They like encourage me to be honest.
mhm,
There's obviously some things that I hid. Sorry, mom and dad, if you see this.
right.
But like yeah, I think they just did it for more like security purposes to just instill that I was okay. Um, Obviously now I don't just walk into a restaurant and I'm like, I'm a type 1 diabetic.
Mhm.
No, I'm actually really shy when like I'll give you a recent example of when I was like first dating my friend. Um, I wanted to wait for everybody's food to come out so we can all eat together, but I already had pre-bolus. So he was just there like, yo, just eat. And my sugar was like dropping like crazy. It was like 50. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's going to come out in like the next 2 minutes, you know? Um, Definitely not a wise choice. I do not um, suggest anybody does that. But yeah, there have been times that like, even at work, sometimes I feel like I do not use my diabetes card when I should.
You push
So
through.
now yes, I'm very much a resilient type of person. So I like push through and I'm like, no, I can do it. I can do it. And I feel like I sometimes care for people more than I care for myself. But like, how can I provide the best care if I'm not okay myself? So I had to like draw out guidelines like, oh, I have to eat at this time. I'm sorry. Like, if it's busy, that's fine, but I need to do this and that. So then X, Y, and Z doesn't occur. So then I can, better do my job. So yeah, there's been
Uh,
times where I've been more careless.
I understand. Being a true empath at heart, such as yourself, um, I mean, something that I do suggest, and you just stated that if we want to truly put our heart and truly embody the things that other people are going through in ways of helping heal them in the process or journey that they're going through, we too need to be empathetic to ourselves. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes we're like, well, so and so needs this done right now. So we just bolt out the door to go handle it, forgetting, oh, I have diabetes. Until we're like, we may be on a highway or driving, like, oh, let me go back and grab my diabetes stuff. Because
Yeah,
I'm sure we all go through that.
yeah, no, I think so. I think that there's sometimes like where, especially living in the US, like stress is high. We live in a fast paced
Mhm.
type of like environment. So sometimes like I'll find myself forgetting to inject myself or like I always carry this. I have it here, like all my supplies
Mhm.
in case one day I forget that I needed to change my infusion site or it doesn't work. I try to be really cautious, but some days, some days I just forget. Sometimes I don't eat breakfast. So like, what is
Mhm.
that? Come on, I've been doing this for 20 years and still find
But
myself,
yeah, but I mean, that's just a natural thing because we can't, I mean, we are hard on ourselves, like literally we are.
I know.
But when you could, like, there's people who don't have any health conditions at all. I mean, they forget everything. So, I mean,
Right.
give ourselves grace that, I mean, we have to, I mean, we're managing diabetes math in general. And I always ask people, like I said to someone recently, like, why did I even have math in school?
That's it. Yeah. Like, I'm actually really good at math and I think diabetes for that because like a lot of mental math can be done, you
Mhm.
know, really well, can execute a math equation pretty well.
Right. when you like, even when you consider things such as ratios.
I used to get like in middle school, I went from a regular high school to like a Catholic high school. So
Mhm.
they like, it was more strict, obviously. And like, I would just skip steps all the time. I'd be like, no, this is how it's done like that. And I used to get in trouble so much because they want it particular way. And I'm like, but that can be simplified. And like, I don't have to do this to get here, to get to the answer, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so definitely some things I'm grateful for with diabetes. And that's definitely math.
Right. Because that
Yeah.
strongly correlates with like when we even have like visits with our educators or nurse practitioners, endocrinologists, and they're like, why did you do things this way or that?
Mhm.
Because I live with this condition. So I know how to simplify this for myself, for my
Yep.
well-being. Just because you were educated in one way where everything must go by the book doesn't mean that I have to, because if I do everything by the book, I will be burnt out to the core.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, when I went on my tandem, and like the education from mini med from the Medtronic to the tandem is like very different. So she
Mhm.
would just like look at my stuff, and I was doing everything myself, like my management. I had my Dexcom, but it wasn't an integrated like closed loop system. So I was doing everything on my own. And she's like, why are you doing this here? And what's going on over here? And I'm like, I barely remember 5 minutes ago. I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
like, because I wanted a better blood sugar, like I wanted a better outcome, and that is something I think like as a provider, I mean I would probably ask too, but then I'd remember like and like look at myself and be like, okay, maybe they just did this because that works for them, and that's okay, you know.
Right. And a lot of times with your providers, they're learning with us, even though they
Oh
already
yeah.
have the certifications, the degrees, everything that like counts as being certified to do the job. I mean, 9 out of 10 people that I come across that live with type 1 diabetes could could themselves manage another person with diabetes, especially someone who
Hmm.
isn't having the outcomes or nearing the outcomes that they want to produce. Because I mean,
Right. Yeah. No.
it's embedded in us.
No. Definitely. That's actually really great that you mentioned that, because one of my dia buddies, he was my neighbor actually, and I had diabetes first, so I had been doing this for a couple years, and then he had been diagnosed with type 1.
You had diabetes
And
first. That just sounds funny. Like, like kids growing up, like, I had it first. I had it first. No, you can keep it.
okay,
You can have it. Take mine
I
too.
don't, maybe I spread it to him, that
Right.
I had also those misconceptions growing up. They're like, oh, if I touch you, and am I gonna get diabetes?
Mm,
And since I was cruel, sometimes I would say yes, depending on the person.
yeah, the little big head boys.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, totally. Like, you're gonna get diabetes. You can't.
Yeah,
Um, but
your neighbor.
I helped. Yeah, I ended up helping him a lot with his management, and we still talk to this day. And it's funny, we have so many things in common. Like, we have type 1, our birthdays are the same day, we live right across the street from each other. Like, that's like my diabetes soulmate, I think,
Hmm.
you know?
Yep.
And it's great. It's also great, like, to have someone to lean on. I think a support system
Mhm.
with someone that actually knows what you go through is amazing, which is why I think this community is so great and your podcast is so great, because it allows people to like, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? Like, you're like, what? Somebody else that gets it? Like, oh, this
Right.
doesn't only happen to me.
I mean, it's like the Diegods put us together. And, I mean, like literally, they
Exactly.
were like, "Y'all come together and take over." Like, it's
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Marvel universe, but with diabetes.
Yes.
So that's look, I just got a giggle out of that, and that just reminds me of something that and this is going to make you laugh. I hope it brings back some good memories. It's probably been darn near a year. Um, like we had this ongoing communication about 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Like that was like the most hilarious thing ever. And I still can't find the 7-Eleven videos anymore.
I actively try to look for them sometimes.
Same.
I'm like, I haven't sent them something in a while. Like, I want to giggle, I want to laugh and I
Right.
want somebody to enjoy that with. And it's so hard. It's so
Right.
hard out here.
Right. So for people that are listening, there are these videos. I don't even know what social media or what avenue like they came from. It may have been like World Star Media take. Oh, I don't know what it came from, but it was there's a 7-Eleven in Florida where like the shenanigans on top of shenanigans on top of shenanigans happen daily. And it's just like, how are all these people ending up in this 7-Eleven doing these crazy things? And it's like nonstop. And it's like the most hilarious thing ever. Especially like if you grew up in an area where there's a 7-Eleven.
Yeah, yeah. I will say, I lived in Florida for a little bit, like 10 months only. And yeah, it's really wild. But here also, like, I feel like I could open up my own account because the people that go to 7-Eleven, or no, the people that hang out at 7-Eleven,
Mhm.
they're special characters.
Mhm. It's like 7-Eleven allows them. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is just your
It's like
home.
that's their community, that's right there, just 7-Eleven. That's where they hold all their meetings.
Right. I mean, because you don't see that outside of like in this area like Wawa's and like things like
Mm-mm.
that. It's only 7-Eleven.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I love those.
yeah, that was real funny.
I think
So
I'm gonna scroll through our chat later and just look through them and
right,
resend them to you.
just type in 7-Eleven and look, rekindle that 7-Eleven connection.
Yep.
So I did want to talk more about like stigmas on diabetes. Has like over the years, have anyone like directly stated or said anything to you about diabetes where you had to like either check them or you were like they're just uneducated in it, so I'm not even going to take the time to address it.
Um, yeah, there's been so many times like I constantly have to tell like people like well they see, like they see my gadgets at work, so they'll think like, oh, they completely forget about type 1 just because we're so like not a lot of people have type 1, I guess,
Mhm.
or are diagnosed with it. So like that type 1 is autoimmune, like something I could have not prevented this. Like, even if I wanted to,
Mhm.
I would probably still have diabetes, or I would still have diabetes. Um, Again, I think I mentioned before that people were like, oh, but you're so young. So they have this like embedded in them that older people
Mhm.
are the ones that are diagnosed with type 2. I mean, with type 1 or type 2.
Diabetes.
Um, yeah. And
Yeah.
like, or they'll be like, "Oh, but you're not fat." And I'm just like, "What?" Like, okay. I mean, thanks, I guess, but I'm like, but that's not how it really works. Um, there have been times where I've just been quiet about it. Like I didn't really want to talk about it, so I was just like, mhm. But typically I try to educate people, in the best way that I can, obviously respectful and stuff. Again, like I said, some patients I have, more confidence with, and we like laugh, and
Mhm.
I might say a snarky comment or two about it, but um, definitely. And I think that that's something that we're kind of always going to have to like adjust and live with. But I think that we should address it in a respectful manner too, because like you said, some of these people are uneducated. They don't know. They only know what social media will say, or like what they've heard. Oh, also one thing I really hate, like I'm sorry, but one thing I hate is when people would like in the shore over here in Jersey, they have like these outrageous like ice cream cones that are
Mhm.
like the cone completely dipped in
I know
chocolate
what
and
you're
dipped
talking
with
about.
this, that. And then they would hashtag it diabetes. I was just like, oh, you don't
I
know how
know,
many times I've held my tongue.
man. early on in the diabetic online community, especially like on like Instagram or even Facebook, like when I like really like put my face in that space, man, I would comment and let people know like right away, especially it's and even more so like in celebrities that have
Oh
diabetes.
yeah.
Like I couldn't stop, like I couldn't help myself with um having that space and being able to like educate someone, because I know if I just post like in someone like a celebrity I follow like Dame Dash, who has type 1
Mhm.
diabetes, and he's had it since he was I think 14 years old. And every time he's on a post and like you may see like his Dexcom or his pump or whatever, people are saying things like, um you keep on taking that insulin, this is going to happen to you, or that's going to, why don't you
Oh
try a raw or vegan diet? Dame Dash has been vegan for many years. Yeah, like
yeah.
it's crazy, like they for them to say things. So I have to look. The diet gods are telling me, Will, you must say something, because if he has thousands and thousands of people looking at that post, a few people are going to see that and they're going to say, they're going to uh think twice about um commenting in a way that may not benefit the diabetic online community or just people in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've had to like check my friends many times, like that were posting stuff like that, like hashtag diabetes. I was like, that's not really how it works. And then like go into the whole like rant.
Mhm.
Um, and I've also had like friends tell me like, oh, my mom has diabetes, this, that, so I'm just gonna get it. And it's like they give up. And I'm like, why are you saying that? You could prevent it as long as
Mhm.
possible if you could, or you might not even develop it. You never even know, but why would you not try?
Right.
I'm like, you see me struggle with this sometimes day in, day out, and you're just gonna tell me that to my face? Like, love yourself,
Mhm.
be better. I mean, I don't mind anymore having diabetes. I don't think I ever really truly like there's been times where I was like, over it, like that day, like I'm just like, oh, that diabetes day, whatever, keep it moving. But I've never been like, oh, I wish I wasn't a diabetic. I think it helped me in so many aspects of my life. And it also just helps with like educating. And that is something that I really like to do. And but yeah, but those posts, not it for me. That
Mhm.
like triggers something in my brain where the empath in me like explodes, and I'm just like, please
Those
don't be
posts
ignorant.
are not it for us. Friends, family, associates, please think twice about what you're posting, things that you're saying, because um, anyone that's living with a chronic health condition, if they see someone making a mockery of it, it affects them truly, because we are living with this more so nonstop, more than the 24/7 that people say they are doing things. Like someone may say, I'm on my job 24/7. I'm doing this 24/7, taking care of my family 24/7. Um, I'm getting money 24/7. This is nonstop. So,
Hmm.
like the thing is,
Please,
yeah, just think about it. Truly.
please, yeah, like please just think about it before you said, because it can really affect a lot of people. Like it, and some people will like blame us also for developing diabetes. And I'm just like, that's not how it works. Like I could have eaten 0% of sugar my whole life and I could still have diabetes. It's not something that's like sugar induced or like it's a lot of
Mhm.
factors, your environment, stress, so many things can affect this. So just please think of that, yeah, before you like go out
Mhm.
there and post or also just contribute to that misconception.
Right. Because we're saying please, like we're really saying please, but if you're in our face and you're saying that, it's going to be more than please, because like Jenny, like you were diagnosed at 9 years old, 9
Hmm.
years young. You were your parents' baby. Even today, you're still their baby. Do you have any siblings?
No,
No siblings. You're an only child. You're literally
child.
like your parents did everything probably to guide and protect you along in this journey called life. So being diagnosed at 9 years old, third between third and fourth grade, right?
Yeah.
Do you like remember that time, like being diagnosed? Like, 'cause you were a kid, you didn't, nothing you did brought this upon yourself.
Yeah. I remember a lot of my symptoms actually. Like, I was always really good at school, like straight A's, doing the,
Oh, I know you're the
I was
mathematician.
like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, I excelled really well in my studies. And, oh, my grades started dropping. Remember, I don't know if you remember picture prompts where
Say
we
that
would
again.
have to write like a whole picture prompts, like
Mm-hmm.
we'd have to write a story based off that
Oh,
picture.
yep.
Mine would be uncohesive. Like it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't correlate with. I literally got a zero one time. How do you get a zero? I don't know. But anyway, a lot of different things. Like my parents would have to go to meetings. I was constantly needing to drink water and go to the bathroom. That was all I was concerned about. The thirst and going to the bathroom. Um, there was times where like this is embarrassing, but if it's gonna help somebody, I was like peeing my bed, and I mean that happens when you're younger, right? I think that's happened to like
Yeah.
everybody.
Hmm.
But like at 9 years old, I had stopped that a long time ago. That only happened to me once or twice. I couldn't make it to the bathroom. If there's anybody that was in the bathroom, I would literally like have to go to sleep. So I would forget about my urge of having to go to the bathroom.
I equally did
Um,
that.
yeah,
E-
right. Like I would, yeah, it's crazy. Like, how do you take a nap so you can avoid going to the bathroom? And then there, I guess, sometimes I would just like pee. And like, I got really skinny. Oh man, I was like disgustingly skinny. This was before like pictures were a thing too. Like go back 20 years ago, as much as that diabetes technology has like, increased now, even technology like this didn't exist. We had like the Nokia phones
mhm.
that like barely took any pictures. So I don't have any pictures of like my diagnosis. I do have like
I don't
befores
either.
and afters. So you'll see, yeah, you'll see like in third grade, I looked a bit healthier. And then we go back to like fourth grade and I look like disgustingly skinny. My skin kind of looked like yellowish, like, turning
Hmm.
jaundice like that. Um, and the thing is, like, don't think that my parents didn't notice this in me. My parents did the things. They took me to the doctor. They would monitor. They would like we'd have to go to the doctor a lot because of the symptomology, and nothing would come back. No diabetes. Nothing would turn up. So it wasn't until I went on a road trip, worst road trip I've ever been on. Do you know how uncomfortable it is to have to like stop every
Stop.
three exits because you have to go to the bathroom?
Mhm.
It was to the point that my parents were like, just go to sleep, just go to sleep. So
Go pee in your sleep.
it was so bad, yeah.
Do what
And
you do when
then,
you're home. Pee in the sleep.
then I finally got to my destination and my family saw me and they were like, "Oh, is Jennifer okay?" Because of course they hadn't seen me in a while, so they like for them it's like a truck hit them. Like, "Is Jennifer okay? She doesn't look well. This, that, the other thing." And my parents were like, "Yeah, we're gonna take her to the doctor again when we come back." But we ended up getting to Florida, right? Oh, and
Mhm.
then I got sick with a virus,
Was
and
it like
then from
Coxsackie's virus? Because I know a
I
lot of
don't
people, that's like hand, foot, mouth.
no, I don't think it was that. I think it was just like a stomach virus. And then again, going back to our cultures, it was like 2 days, but that day I woke up like that. I couldn't eat nothing. And my dad was like, "Oh, give her Coca-Cola because it settles your stomach."
Mhm.
That's something cultural that we're like, because of the bubbles and all that.
Right.
He gave me that and I literally threw that up. I couldn't walk. It was to the point that I couldn't do anything. They had to carry me to the car. They took me to the hospital. They don't know where they were going. We're in a new state. So they had to call my uncle. They were like, no, take her to this hospital. It's better. And as soon as I got there, of course, I had to go to the bathroom. I come out, they see me, and like right away, I was admitted. And I think they like checked my sugar first, and the glucometer didn't even have a reading. It was like, oh, it's too high. My parents know the exact number. I think it was like 800, something like that.
I was about to ask, have you had a chance to look at like your medical intake or discharge records? Because even though after they say 7 to 10 years, hospitals don't have to keep the actual medical records, but they do keep those intake and discharge.
Um, no, especially because it's in a different state. But my parents are very meticulous. Like they keep everything. Like they kept all my pediatric notes, everything. So I'd have to like
Mhm.
look through it. But on a day like today, you know, that I'm actually celebrating my diversity, um, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I don't think I've never seen my dad cry before. And when I woke up, I saw him cry. And I was like, oh, I wasn't scared. I think my first initial thought was like, oh, this is something serious. And then I just kind of like dozed off and went back to bed. Um, my grandma, my dad's mom, has type 2 diabetes. So he was a little familiar with it. She also used insulin, so he knew about that. Um, but, you know, this is obviously not something that he wanted for his child. So,
Right, and I'm pretty sure
but
he over the years, I mean, even at that beginning stage when you were diagnosed, um, I spoke to my dad about this because my dad also has, well, he has type 2 diabetes. And I asked him more recently, when I was diagnosed, did you think that it was because of you that I received this diagnosis? And he just was like, you have what I have. And then he said it just broke him like inside, like he could not believe that.
yeah, yeah, again, I've never seen my dad cry before. And it just like, I don't know, seeing your dad cry and like,
Mhm.
that's the provider that like, you know, doesn't like do that. Like, it does something to you, you know? It's just, I literally just thought like, oh, maybe I'm dying, you know? Like, I don't
Mhm.
know. I was 9. I will say I don't remember a lot of my life before 9 years old. Maybe like up to the year before. So I'll have like some like
Flashes.
conversations with people, like be like, oh, you know, do you remember watching this? And I'm like, no idea, no clue. They're like, what the heck? What kind of childhood did you have? And I'm just like, yo, I don't, I cannot recall. I remember my life like started at 9 basically for
Mhm.
me. And then from there, I remember. But before that, no, because I went into like a coma for like a day. Is that even called a coma? I don't know. But um, anyway, I was out for like a whole entire day. And then, yeah, so before that, I don't remember much.
So I consider that 20 years ago today, you were gifted a second chance at life. And I hope that you'll be able to
Definitely
actually
was.
talk to your parents about that. You know, thank them for that. I mean, we thank our parents for our lives, but like your parents saved your life again and basically gave you a rebirth. And your dad probably cried when you were born. He cried again on that day when you were diagnosed. So 20 years ago today, as I'm going to keep reiterating, 2 decades. I'll let you do the math. You're the mathematician. Was that 72, 73,000 days ago? um,
Yep.
you were given a second chance at life, like literally, figuratively, like you were here because of your diagnosis. We know so many people go without a diagnosis, and including like I have
Yeah.
my great grandmother. She was in 1954, January 19th, 1954, she fell, they said she had fell ill, had complained of stomach pains. And before that, she had lost a dramatic amount of weight. From January 19th, 1954 to February 2nd, 1954, she was tended to by a nurse. And last year, I found her a death certificate through ancestry.com, and it reads death due to acidosis. So today they're saying like
Hmm.
she died from not being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, probably. So
Hmm.
yeah, you.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that like I was born at a time where insulin was available,
Mhm.
you know, like 100 years ago, you know, we're not having the same story here. Uh, so definitely at a time like where we can manage it. It's not something that we can cure yet. I don't know if we'll ever get there. Perhaps we will, but definitely something we can manage. And like, I think it just makes you a really strong person mentally, physically. Um, so as much as like